Plus, I want people to be informed. I want children to be educated so that their futures can be informed in ways that they can keep moving forward to be better citizens in our country and to be informed. I want children to be educated so that their futures can be informed in ways that they can keep moving forward to be better citizens in our country and in our world. And that's why for 27 years now, I have done a Black History exhibit in the Dayton area. I've gone to churches, I've gone to nursing homes, I've gone to schools, and on the Friday of the weekend, we have a gospel song fest. On that Sunday, we have a great worship service, and I belong to Shiloh Church down here at the corner of Main and Philadelphia Drive. And for each year, I invite an African-American speaker to do the worship service. And we have praise dancing, and we have a big feast meal. And then on Monday, my school children come to see all the exhibits. I have vendors who bring their artifacts so that we can see what Black history artifacts are all about. And they come on Monday to view the exhibits, and they bring their programs to either a choir or recitative chorus or instrumental music or dance, anything, and share with each other. And then we feed them a free meal and give each one of them a bag that has Black history information in it. So that's what I have done for all those years. I'm going to just talk from one or two of these things. I know you have a meeting after this, but I just want to talk from a few things. Some of you may not know, but the Dragon Field downtown, the architect was a 37-year-old Black man from Oklahoma. Did you know that? Black history. This piece was done by a local artist, and it's the newspaper the morning after President Obama won the presidency. Isn't that beautiful? All these are treasures. This piece is from the Amistad. Some of you may have seen the movie, The Amistad. Steven Spielberg did the movie. The Amistad was a ship that brought Africans to the United States, and the Africans mutinied the ship and wanted to take it back to Africa, but they went off course and ended up in Long Island Sound. And it was there that people from the Congregational Church befriended them. And you know the court case that was in the movie and all of that. But Hale Woodruff painted murals about the Amistad, and he painted them to be placed in the library of Talladega College, which is one of the United Church of Christ colleges. And these murals were hung all around the foyer of the library. I attended Talladega College, and about 15 years ago, those murals were taken down to be cleaned and sent wherever they went to be cleaned, but they also were on tour over the United States before they were brought back to Talladega. On the floor of the library, there's a picture of the ship done in marble. We never walked on the Amistad at Talladega. We always walked around it. The murals are back now in our new Performing Arts Center. But for a while, after the tour around the country, they were in Atlanta in a temperature-controlled environment until the Performing Arts Center was completed. But that's the story of the Amistad, and that's Senku. He's the one who led the mutiny of the ship. This little girl here, Ruby Bridges was a first grader, and she is the little girl who integrated the schools in New Orleans. I started to bring my big picture of her standing, and the marshals are around her, and on the wall, the word nigger is written. There are tomato stains on the walls where they threw at her and all, as they were escorting her into the school. But just think of the big burden a 6-year-old had to go and integrate the school. But had not that happened, schools may not be integrated today. Some hurt goes into victory most times. But that's little Ruby Bridges. This book, after slavery, there was a period of Reconstruction when, because slaves were now free, they wanted to build a good life for themselves. And so they went to school, they became doctors, lawyers, scientists, inventors, and were doing very well. But that did not set well with the former slave owners, because they were becoming more equal to them. And so Reconstruction did not last too long. They started Jim Crow, and then put into place laws that would still confine the freedmen who were former slaves into subjection anyway. That's what Jim Crow is. It's almost like slavery. Then in the early 20s, Harlem Renaissance, all the entertainers, Count Basie, Cab Calloway, all those wonderful entertainers. That period was called the Harlem Renaissance, and that's when many black entertainers were able to go into clubs and entertainment houses and concert halls and exhibit their talents and gifts. That was the Harlem Renaissance. This spoon was a fundraiser when I was a little girl. Well, I have to tell you, I'm from Tuskegee. You've heard of the Tuskegee Airmen, right? Well, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, which is the cradle of the Confederacy. Thank goodness I was not rocked in the cradle of the Confederacy, because at 9 months old, my parents moved to Tuskegee, which was about 36 miles from Montgomery. And that's where I grew up. This spoon was a fundraiser for Tuskegee University at Tuskegee when I was a little girl. And it has inscripted on it Booker T. Washington, who was the founder of Tuskegee University, lifting the veil of ignorance from the Negro. And Mom and Daddy bought spoons for us to use at home and help the fundraiser out. And I still have one of them. The patina is just gone, but still special. Of course, as I mentioned, the Tuskegee Airmen, I have here autographs from some of the Tuskegee Airmen when they were here for a great banquet been about 20 years ago now. But as a little, I was 6 years old when the Tuskegee Airmen were founded. Now, for those of you gonna pull out your phones and start calculating when that was, your answer's not gonna be wrong. It's right. It was a long time ago.
I got rigor mortis in my fingers.
But I was 6 years old when the Tuskegee Airmen were founded. And during World War II, when Moton Field, where they trained in Tuskegee, this T-shirt, wait a minute, I'm not driving too well here. This T-shirt that I bought, if you be kind enough to hold that, please. Thank you. Has the names of all the Tuskegee Airmen. And there were 900 and some Tuskegee Airmen. There were just 5 or 6 original ones, and one of the original ones lived here in Dayton. His name was Charles Williams. And after C.I. passed on, and Grace passed on too, and Grace was in a social club with the two of us, and there was an estate sale, and I bought, this is his beret.
Can you turn that, Ms. Ogletree, can you turn it to see the top? I don't know, sometimes there's colored things on there, the outside. Okay. So
no, it's just clear,
okay.
But there's beautiful insignia inside. And I also have from CI his flag. Where's his flag? We didn't take it out. I have his flag too. One of his flags, not the one that they, it's right here. Oh, you have it. But at any rate, CI was one of the original Tuskegee Airmen. And of course, Roland is from Tuskegee too. But I didn't know him because he's a couple generations younger than I am. Yeah, I met him only when he moved onto my street. That's when I met Roland.
Will you allow me to say a little bit more about that or something?
Sure, go right ahead.
From my grandfather's history, he and his sons helped build Tuskegee Institute at that time. My uncles were bricklayers at that time, so they built that. And my grandfather worked with Booker T. Washington with some of his research and
Yes.
efforts there, so that we learned that each one of us had that connection. So.
Yes, yes. And speaking of the bricks, the students on the campus of Tuskegee made the bricks that the buildings were built from. And I didn't realize until I was a late teenager that the area of town that we call Brickyard Hill was where they got the mud from to build the buildings on the campus. Also, one of the renowned citizens from Tuskegee is Dr. Carver. George Washington Carver, the scientist. George Washington Carver, thank you, was a little baby in slavery in Iowa and was raised by Caucasian mom and dad. But he was a very gentle man, very tall, slender, but very gentle, but genius. Dr. Carver made over 300 different items from the sweet potato. Some of the items were, we need better eyes than I've got. Just read what some of that he made.
Adhesives, buttermilk, fuel briquettes, metal polish, rubbing oils, synthetic marble, vanishing cream, Worcestershire sauce.
And in his museum, he grew vegetables like that, cabbage and potatoes, and they're on display. Have you been there?
I haven't, but
You studied it?
I've heard about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
agricultural sciences. and
Yes,
things.
yes, he
Yeah.
loved the earth. And on a visit to Tuskegee to celebrate my church heritage, and it was my church where I grew up in and got married in, that Tuskegee University was founded. Well, I checked into the Kellogg Center on the campus, and the lady at the desk had the young man to take me to my room, and he was finding the number. He said, I don't see this room. And then it dawned on him, oh, you're gonna be staying in the Carver suite. And I stayed in Dr. Carver's suite, and it was where he lived the last few years of his life on campus. And before we went in, I said, don't take my luggage in yet, I've got to take pictures. Yes, but that was a real treat. This was made by a friend of ours. She was a Catholic nun at Good Samaritan Hospital, and she made this for us when we moved to Dayton in 1964, and she used to call herself our soul sister. So this is really special. We are all brothers, and I've kept it all these years. I wanted to also mention, and I know you gotta go, no, we gotta go. But to show you how terrible segregation is, young men and women in Alabama years ago wanted to go to medical school, could not go to medical school in the state of Alabama. Their out-of-state fees were paid so that they could go to Meharry Medical College or to Howard University in Washington to medical school. My husband was one of those young men. They paid his out-of-state fees to get out of Alabama to go to Meharry Medical College and not to the University of Alabama. Now, show me the wisdom in that.
They're lost. They were lost.
Lost, yes, yes. But there is so much history. Oh, Paul Arts Dunbar. And then I'm gonna go. This is the 150th anniversary of Paul Arts Dunbar's birthday this year. And Wright Dunbar, Woodland Cemetery, everybody is celebrating Dunbar every month. So keep that in mind. And I wish I had enough of these to give everybody, but I'll give it to you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And Roland, I have another one, I'll give it to you too. But on the Walk of Fame is on the back, all the people who've been inducted into the Walk of Fame. And I serve on the advisory board for the Walk of Fame. But Paul Arts Dunbar, as you know, was poet laureate and just an outstanding young man.